Welcome to Ngosti Talk Shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Well, the day has come for you to be a great leader. Over to you, Amanda. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Good morning from Canada. My name's Amanda Cottrell. I am a teacher, an author, and illustrator, and I'm the founder of Art, Mindfulness, and Creativity. And I help people find their own unique creative capacities within themselves. Carol Ann?
Yeah, thank you. And good afternoon from UK, London. Yeah, London, UK, whichever way. And as the writing facilitator, what I do is I support soul-driven entrepreneurs becoming more productive with their writing by connecting them with their deeper innate ability to write. But more importantly, they experience free-flowing writing. They experience an unlocking of the writer within and getting their book written, getting their story written, because you cannot publish what isn't written. And all of this has come about through my own self-discovery journey of unlocking the writer within. So thanks, Amsa, for today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Carol Ann. So our topic today is how to deal with the dark times. At some point, as most of us have experienced darkness in our lives. Darkness, you can't avoid it. You cannot hide under the bed or hide inside the cupboard because there are no guarantees for tomorrow when it comes to life, Kamal says. And but we have to keep going, and we have to know that those who are Christians, you have to know that we are serving God of miracles. A miracle can happen anytime as long as we are not willing to give up. So I'm going to give it to Amanda. How do you relate with this topic, Amanda?
Well, I think so many of us have been dealing with dark times, especially through the last 2 years. It's just been like unknowns and then more darkness and pressure from our government and lots of what we hear on mainstream media has been very fear-driven. And I think that we've all been dealing with different aspects of darkness over the last 2 years. I know I struggle with staying at home. I like to be out and about and doing things, and you have to find joy in different things, and that part is difficult sometimes, to find joy in the mundane when things are feeling hard and a struggle. And so I think that you really need to look within yourself when those dark days come. And I know that even lately I've been struggling with that, because I know in Canada our mandates are atrocious right now, and I finally have hope with what the truckers are doing. It's finally brought a glimmer of hope that our freedoms will be restored, and that the rule of law will be followed. And so it has been dark times, and I think that there's hope at the end of the tunnel. Carol Ann?
I think that's it, isn't it? It's hanging on to that vision of even if you can't see through the darkness, it's having that hope and belief that there will be, or there is light at the end of the tunnel. And a beautiful quote I found this morning: "The night taught me never to fear the dark times by giving way to the dawn of a new day." So day, it's that day and night. There is that cycle. And sometimes dark times can go on at different lengths of time. Some can be longer than others. But there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And it is having that faith and that hope. And sometimes, yeah, as you say, just finding that joy, or somehow trying to find joy in the mundane every day. And it is recognizing that sometimes there's something here for us to learn. These dark times are where we can actually grow and find an inner strength to keep going. And in that, it gives us strength to do other things and to grow as a person, to grow in different ways, and to find something in us that maybe you didn't realize was there. So it is about using those dark times for yourself. Make the best of them that you can. And I know they can be pretty dark, pretty heavy. And I know when I was ill, about 20 years ago now, perhaps 19, I lose track of time. Time goes, because it's like, yeah, it was all that time ago. But I clearly remember being in my house, and I remember the darkness now. It didn't seem dark at the time, but when I look back, it was dark. But there was a lot of anger, there was a lot of upset and tears, and I was constantly screaming and shouting. I don't know what the neighbours must have thought, but I was often letting out just screams just to get out what was within me, and tears and crying. But I was just working with what was here, and it didn't, it seemed like I'd never get through. But things changed, and as you can see, 20 years later, I'm here. My whole outlook on life is brighter. Do I still have dark times? Yes, but they're not as dark as that time was. When I look back, that was dark. Now, they're just, there's a sort of grayness to them. There's an energy, there's a dip. There's, oh, what am I doing? But they're not as dark as that. So it is just keeping going. And you'll be surprised who shows up, what shows up, and the support that there is to keep you going. So, yeah, how to deal with dark times. Great topic, great topic. Nomsa, what about you?
Oh, Amanda talks about hope. Yeah, my daughter, her name is Hope. Every time I go through dark times, I just look at her and say, where there is light, there is hope. When I'm going through, and Carol and you talk about, sometimes we have dark times are here to teach us a lesson. They are here to give us strength. Yes, that is true. But we can choose to actually stay down, and the result of dark times, it could be a betrayal, it could be a disappointment, it could be a loss of a loved one, or loss of anything. It could be a rejection. So we have experienced one of these in our lifetime, basically, and you just have to find, like Carol Ann is saying, find that basically sense of loss of inner strength, whatever that might be. And you could experience despair. You could feel like the whole world is turned against you. But guess what? Darkness comes to teach us something that we don't know about life. Because when you look at through that darkness, the process of that, you coming out of it, you're learning something out of it. You're learning how basically to have strength, how to believe, like hoping, like faith. Your faith is being tested. I don't know people's beliefs, but for me, I believe that when darkness comes, if you say, okay, I believe in the universe, when the darkness show up, would you call out to the universe or would you turn against the universe straight away? If you believe in God, would you call out to God and just say, God, I have faith in you, or would you turn against God? So the darkness comes to teach us a lesson. And it's not basically when darkness appears in people's lives, it's not there to stay for a long time because it's a task. So once the darkness comes, you just have to find the strength. There are some people that are born natural fighters. So you have to find those kind of people that can help you to fight, that can help you to find your strength. Because when you are going through something, sometimes all you might need to do is some words of encouragement from somebody, and those words of encouragement will help you to lift yourself up. So that's what we need. We need to do that. We need to understand that when darkness comes, we have to be prepared to fight with our all strength, and basically uh, to basically for us to grow. The darkness is there for us to grow. And I've realized with myself, I've gone through so much darkness. And in those processes, I've grown out of those experiences. Rejection, I've been rejected by people, but I say what? I read the Bible and say God was the most powerful man in the world who would have used his powers against people. But when he was rejected, he never used powers against anyone. He knew his place. When he was suffering, when he was in poverty, when he was going through being crucified, he knew who he was. So basically, you have that character, God's character. It helps me to say, if this man can go through this still knowing who he is, I can pull through. He can help me to pull through. So I just have to call him out. Over to you, Amanda. Okay.
Yeah.
I like what you were saying about like looking to different things for hope and for joy and and I was just thinking about how humor can sometimes snap us out of a dark place, and how sometimes even our pets I know when I'm struggling, if I cuddle with my pet and with my cat, she sometimes just brings out like lets me get rid of some of that struggle that I'm holding within my body, and she just makes me laugh, and when you laugh, then you release tension in your body, and laughter, they say, is the best medicine. And so when you can laugh at yourself sometimes when you're struggling, or find something humorous about it later on, even if it's not in the moment, then humor can definitely help you. And I think that I know from what I've experienced, some of the memes that I just laugh at them, and they like cheer me up when I'm struggling with things, and so I definitely think you can turn to humor, or you can turn to your pets, and sometimes it's the simplest thing that will bring a little bit of light into your day, because really what it comes about is, when you are struggling, is how can you shift? What is one thing that you could bring into your life in that moment that will allow your mind to stop focusing on the darkness, and shift into something more positive? Whether it's like saying 10 things that you're grateful for, or just being grateful for one thing in that moment, you can shift, and when you shift, you bring more light back into your life. And I think that's what the best thing to do when you're struggling with darkness is just find something little. The littlest thing can help you shift, and it might only be this tiny little shift, but it'll start, and like that snowball effect, once it's started, it'll just keep bringing more light into your life. Caroline?
Yes, I agree. It's just that laughter is huge tonic. It really is the best medicine. And I remember when my dad was in hospital once, and went to visit him, and it was like, you know, you can look in someone's eyes and you think, where is that person? Where are they? He didn't seem to be at all present. And then as we were talking, and something shifted, and I was saying something that got him laughing, and he just kept laughing and laughing. And all of a sudden in his eyes, he's there, and I'm going, oh, hello, Dad, you know. And I even saw the nurse sort of take a double take, because you can see when someone is present again. And just that laughter, it was so healing. It just brought him back into being with us, you know. So definitely laughter and humor. And I know pets are an enormous joy, enormous comfort. They have a way of just snuggling up to you and letting you know that they're there. And they don't need you to say anything or do anything. And they're just there. It's just the most wonderful support that you can have. But going through, as Nomsa said, you have a choice. You can either sink into it, or you can choose to do something about it. And reaching out and putting up a prayer is a really great tool that you can do. And be prepared that the answer doesn't always come in the form that maybe you think it should or that you want. Because I remember when I was, to say, off ill, and it was really dark space, and I couldn't get about very easily. I couldn't walk properly, and I just kept putting up that prayer. Lord, I want someone to hug. I want someone to be with me. Just wanted that support. And my daughter messaged me and said, could you have my granddaughter? Because she said, my daughter wasn't very well. She needed me to just look after my granddaughter. So I said, okay. So she came to stay with me. And it took me a while to realize that actually the Lord had sent me someone, because we would sit on my settee and she would cuddle up with me. I'd put on my music and we would just sleep. And there was that comfort, that it was amazing. And she would just tap my knee. She'd tap one and she'd say, this one's okay. And she'd go, this one not. And she'd kiss it better. You know, and it took me a while to realize, oh my goodness, the Lord has sent me an answer to my prayer. Here is someone that can give me that togetherness. And it was the most amazing time that I had, and I always treasure that. So do put out the prayer and recognize the answer when it comes, because it's always answered. And I saw it. Emery Lord says, my dark days made me strong. Or maybe I already was strong and they made me prove it. And I think that's something to ponder. There's an inner strength within us that we don't realize we have. There are gifts and skills that we don't realize we have. And these times force us to dig deep and find them and bring them out. And it is about literally being in the moment, because that's where the peace and the joy is, literally in the moment. And it's recognizing where everything is as it should be, because actually it's our resistance to the circumstances that causes the suffering. Something happened. We've made a story, collapsed the two together, and created pain. Because we've made it wrong, we've embellished on it, we've got the fear. Whereas if we just separate the two and go, okay, this is what happened, this is what I made it mean. If you can practice that, it's amazing how you suddenly come into the moment. And when you're in the moment, pain just goes. The torment that you're creating for yourself disappears. So recognize when you're up here in your head creating a story about the darkness and about the situation that you're in. And as Namsa said, it's just about then asking, what can I do? Was it Namsa or was it Amanda? I can't remember now. One of you said, just what is one thing I can do? What's just one thing I can do right now? And maybe it's just go to sleep for a moment. Maybe it's listen to some music. Maybe it's put up a prayer, read a book. Just be guided. Maybe go for a walk, because exercise is a great healer as well. So what is that one thing that you could do when you're thinking, oh, I've done everything, there's nothing else I could do? That's a red flag. Stop and go, well, okay, if there were something else that I could do, I wonder what it might be, and see what comes up. Because very often I have heard people say, well, I've tried everything, I've tried everything. I'm sorry, you haven't. You've tried many things and you haven't quite got what you wanted, but you haven't tried everything. So do bear that in mind. What do you reckon, Namsa or Amanda? Would you want to add in there?
I actually agree with you, Carol Anna. You talk about the togetherness. When you are going through something, togetherness is very, very important. And I think it is what we experienced during lockdown, that basically we need to be together. And so many people went out helping those who couldn't get out and do some food shopping. And so many people, basically, we came together as a community. And basically, the pandemic, I think it was here to teach us that. Because sometimes we don't notice each other. But during the pandemic, we were noticing each other, our neighbors. Sometimes our neighbors will ring the bell, say it's time to come out. A little prayer, just stand by the window praying for NHS staff. So everyone will just come out and stand by door. I think she used to do it like around 6 o'clock. So that togetherness, and I think it was something beautiful, that you look for something, and when the bell goes on, and then you're like, yeah, it's time to pray for somebody else instead of thinking about yourself. I think it's very, very important. And Carol, and you talk about living in the moment. When you're going through something, you are going through darkness, you can't think about tomorrow. You have to live in that moment and pray. Just ask God, whatever your beliefs that might be, or you can meditate, stay focused, because in your survival, basically, is your focusness. When you focus, you stay focused, you are able to survive. And Carol Ann, you spoke about being grateful. When you're going through something, and when you look at your life and you look at the things, basically your success, you look at the things that you pull through, like Carol Ann, she was talking about her health, how she went through health problems. And when you go through those dark times, and Amanda, you talk about smiling. Sometimes you do smile about problems. I tell them off. I do the opposite. I tell the problems off. I'm like, I think I'm tired of these problems, focusing on the problems. I'm like, problems, you are here to distract me. You are here. Once I tell the problem what is here for, I find that the problems, it disappears. I find a solution. So, Amanda, you spoke about laugh at the problems. You know, like Carol Ann, you know, when you talk about your health, and right now when the problem comes, you look back and say, if I can pull through challenges like that, that means problems, you can't touch me. So you just have to know that life sometimes is not fair. That's how people feel that sometimes life is not fair. Things will happen in your life, and you may not get what you think you deserve, because if you tell the universe and say, okay, universe, I need to work, my target this year is to earn 1 million a year, and the universe will be like, are you sure about that? And you're like, yes, I'm sure. And if you bring somebody to distract you or just to cause pain, to see how much strength you have, and the universe will be like, are you still sure this is what you want? And you'll be like, yes. You just have to basically fight hard. That's what part of life. And but basically knowing that everything you desire in life, it will require your strength. Problems are there to cause distraction, or sometimes God will bring a client who is really, really difficult, and God wants to test you. If you say that, you will be like, this is my child, but this child is really, really difficult. And you say you want to reach 1 million. Let's see if you can handle this child, because you're going to face challenges. It will be a test, basically. Instead of you like telling this child, oh, I can't save you, just be like, I've seen people coming at work, like in the office, they are like, angry. And I'm like, the moment you show caring, you show like, yeah, I hear you, I feel you, come and sit down and talk to me. The attitude, it just changes like that. But if you respond, like Carol Anna, you always say, don't make things wrong. If you respond with the situation without making the situation wrong, and just say, okay, I'm going to do my best. And I've seen people, they're angry, and you're like, okay, what can I do for you? The moment you show them caring, the moment that person want to listen, because they've been hurt before and they believe that everyone is the same, but that's not the case. So when darkness comes, we have to learn to be basically to bring the strength out, the heart of the find that heart of the strength of a tiger and a lion, a heart of a lion inside of you, and unleash it and just fight. I'm not sure about when it comes to marriages, when darkness comes, if you are with the wrong partner, I wouldn't suggest the fight, because you'll be forever fighting. So with marriages, it's different. You have to evaluate it based on the person you are dating, or the person you are marrying, or who you're married to. Or sometimes it could be the darkness of somebody else, just more problems, or because somebody doesn't know how to communicate their problems. So you have to evaluate things. I've come across so many things where people get frustrated because they don't know how to communicate their want, their desires. So you have to evaluate your darkness and see where it goes. Over to you, Amanda.
I like how you say evaluate your darkness, because I think that there's different levels for sure, of darkness that we can feel, and there's different ways that we can deal with each different type of darkness. So there's like darknesses in relationships, there's darknesses in dealing with kids sometimes. There's darknesses in dealing with other people, but there's also light in all of those things as well. And even when a relationship ends, I think you can look at the lessons that you've learned from being in that relationship, and be grateful for certain aspects of it. And I know when my marriage ended, I tried to be super grateful for it, because even though it was a very toxic marriage and very unhealthy for me, in the end, I have a daughter out of it. And so I always say, like, I'm super grateful for that, because without him, I wouldn't have my daughter. And so I always just turn it around to that I'm so grateful for that relationship, even though it was really unhealthy for me. I got something, the most wonderful thing in the world out of it. I remind that to myself too when she's being a challenge, because kids can be like a bright light and then a dark little blob at some points too. Just finding the joy and laughing in how children sometimes are like little where they're happy and everything's great, and then in an instant they're not happy and everything's not great. And so just finding that humor and sometimes in how fast they can change their emotions, because otherwise you're like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. Even in the classroom, I find sometimes there's children that are brought into my classroom, and I think, oh man, this is going to be a challenging year. But then once I get through it, there's something that I've learned, and that the other children have learned, and we've learned about more acceptance and more compassion and empathy for others. And I think sometimes we just need to look at challenges through that lens of how can I have compassion and empathy for what's going on? How can I have compassion and empathy for people who have a different opinion than me, but also still be true to what I believe in and what I value? And so I think that's something that people really need to look at, is when somebody disagrees with you or brings in darkness into your life, how can you still have compassion and empathy for them, even though they may be causing you struggles? There's definitely, I always think that hurt people are the types of people that hurt others, right? So if somebody's hurting, they're the type of person that's going to lash out and be angry and try to make other people, bring them down into that darkness. And so when people are lashing out, I always try to say, like, okay, somebody, they're hurting, so how can I come at this from a level of compassion? And I think that's something that we can always like switch in our own brains, right? Is how can I adjust this so that I can approach it from a compassionate level? Carol Ann?
Oh yeah, totally. Because once you can see that the other person's side, it does diffuse how you feel about it and the impact that that person was having on you. And then you can be much more compassionate, understanding of where they're coming from, and actually realize that it is actually nothing about you. It's not about you. It's all their own stuff that's going on. Just happens to be directed at you. And again, we go back to the choice. You have a choice whether to take it on and react, or not take it on and just have that compassion and look at where they're coming from and get their side, get into their world. And actually, by finding the light in yourself, because actually where there's light, there is no darkness. So if you can find the light in yourself and shine that light, it does shift the darkness. And one way that you can find that light in yourself is just by breathing, just taking some deep breaths, and then visualize the light within your heart. And if your mind just goes off and wanders, which it will do, thoughts will come. And then it's just bringing it back to your breathing and focusing and seeing that light in your heart without any judgment, just being present to that light and just experience it expanding. So being in your heart, visualizing that light. Your mind wander, just bring it back again. And by practicing that, that's how you can find the light within yourself. And again, it brings you back to the present. Because when you are totally present, then that's where you can feel that compassion for someone else. Your light shines, it shifts the whole situation. And people can't maintain their level of anger and darkness the same way because they're not touching you. There is something that shifts within that. They'll either just get up and go, or they just soften themselves and that darkness starts to lighten. So that's something to practice, and it does take practice. And if you struggle to practice that or to do that, because I know sometimes attempting to do it on your own, especially when it's something that's new, it's hard. So just remember that we're all here. We've all been through darkness, found light, found different techniques to help support us. And what we've all realized is you don't need to do it on your own. It is about reaching out and asking for help. Praying is one form of reaching out. Reaching out to other people to support you is another way. And as I said, we're here. Do get in touch, because you don't need to do it on your own. And I know what it's like to sit on my own, thinking I'm on my own. There's nobody here for me. And then coming to the realization, actually, that's not true. When I started to wake up a bit and come to that realization, it's like, oh, well, actually, no. There's this person and there's that person. And then I would start to get in touch and things would shift. So if you can't think of anybody, have a look at who's on this show and who you're drawn to get in touch with and have a conversation. Because there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I like what Thomas Edison said. He said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. So whatever your reason for being in that darkness, it's like 10,000 ways that wouldn't work. Isn't that a brilliant reframe? He didn't fail. He kept going. And he found the light. He found the light. Yeah? So just think about how he found the light. He kept going through all of the setbacks. And when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. That's Viktor Frankl said that. So again, very often we're looking at trying to change the other person, trying to change the situation. Know when that's not working. The only thing you can change and the only person you can change is yourself. The only thing you can change is your mindset. So bring it back. Bring it back to yourself. And appreciate the dark. Love it, embrace it. Go, okay, I can't see here at the moment. But what can I feel? What can I hear? Is there any smell? Is there any taste? And bring out your other senses. And I think it was Nomsa, you were saying, evaluate your darkness. That is a form of evaluating it. Just being with it. Because then fear can go. as well. And again, something can pop up and say, here I am. And I know, last year, it was last year, for quite a few months, I had to go to sleep with the light on, because I found myself, if I turned the light out and it was dark, there was a panic set in. It was really quite bizarre. I just had to get up and put the light on, and I had to sleep with the light, and that went on for quite a few months. I couldn't explain it, didn't know what it was. And then slowly I started putting something over my head because I just wanted a little bit of shade from the light. And eventually I was able to turn the light out and go to bed and go to sleep in the dark. And I can still do that. It was just a period of time, as I say, absolutely bizarre. I don't know what was going on for me in that moment, but there was something about I could not be in the darkness. I could not go to sleep in the dark, because whether my eyes were open or my eyes were closed, I couldn't see anything. It was so dark, and I just couldn't. There was like this panic inside me. Now it's gone. But it is about just working with it, embracing it, not making it wrong, not pushing it away, not thinking into it in such a way that it overtakes you. It's saying, well, what can I do right now to keep going? My way was just keep the light on. I just a small light, a lamp that I could put on and have on overnight. And now I don't need to. And it's like, okay, so celebrate. And that's another key thing. Celebrate all successes. How often do you celebrate and reward yourself? I certainly don't. I don't do it enough. And I never used to. I used to move on to one problem to the next, to the next. It's like acknowledge every little step, every milestone, every little bit of success that you make. Pat on the back. Smile. Praise yourself. There's a mentor friend of mine. She says, smile and praise. Smile and praise. Yeah, beautiful. So do, and can you feel that joy when it's uplifting? It brings that joy in. So how many of you smile and praise or acknowledge and give yourself a pat on the back? What about you, Nomsa? Do you?
I'm faced with problems. I smile before. I would be like, why me? If you had met me 10 years ago, I would be like, why me? Why is this happening to me? But I've learned so much that, every problem that it comes to us to teach us something. So I have to smile, and the more I have problems, the more I have to pray to God and say, you know what? I need your angels to come and take away these problems that are troubling my life, because I cannot wipe them away. Or is there a solution? Or send me somebody, an angel that can help me to actually solve these problems. And I find that when you try to force the problems to go away, it doesn't go away. You end up being stressed and depressed, basically. But for me, I've learned to, my expectation is to God. You say, you know what, God, you say anything you ask. So here's the problem. What am I going to do with it? I take actions. If it's necessary. If it's a problem that I see that is causing distraction, I do not want it. I let it know that I don't want it in my life, and I laugh at it, and I tell it to go away. If it's a problem that has nothing to do with me. There are some battles, basically a darkness, that have nothing to do with us. It's like right now, the pandemic. The pandemic is something that is unseen. We don't basically know what is going on. And for some people, it's a battle because they need a passport to basically go to, like Amanda, you need a passport to go to gym, to go to anything. But in the UK, we don't have that. But some countries is a battle, and it's something that you can look at it and say, how can something that enter and take people's lives and torture those who are living And my father-in-law was the other day, he was telling me about the news about Boris, and I was like, tell me when Boris is finished. I'm done with Boris. Because I was like, they need something else to focus on. He had a part in so what? So if he has apologized, because sometimes, you know, we all make mistakes in life, but there are so many people, mentally health problems. Amanda was talking about it, that there's so much mentally health problems. The numbers are going up and people taking their own lives. I keep checking online actually. Is surprisingly is the people who are taking their own lives, is the people who have everything, like millionaires. And I was checking a few days ago, there's somebody else who died in America, and they were not sure how she died, or whether it was she took her own life and things like that. And my father-in-law is calling me, telling me about Boris. I was like, I don't want to hear about Boris. I like the guy, but not me listening to him and having a party. So I was like, I think I have better things to do. And I said to him, I need to do some reading or listen to any video. Because at the end of the day, you have to choose, evaluate the things that come your way. You have to, sometimes some darkness, they come to show us something, part of us that is not focused. I've seen myself, sometimes I do things and I'm thinking this is dark. And when I try to focus, that's when I realize actually it's not dark. It's an error that I've made. It's a mistake that I made, and I can correct it. But if you focus on the darkness is here, then you miss out. So you just have to pray. For me, I just pray. I meditate. When the darkness comes, I meditate and I tell it that I am aware of darkness. I cannot ignore you. I'm afraid, but I'm aware that you are here and I'm going to continue taking action. When darkness comes, it doesn't mean you have to stop what you're doing. You have to keep going. It's like in gossip talk shows, and we had some speakers that came and go. And Nadia was sending me a message the other day, and she's like, I would like to come back as a guest. And I was like, I didn't know you decided to make yourself a guest. Yeah, the last time we spoke, you told me you had a job and you need to, you had so much work and that you need to focus on your work for now. So I was like, that was the last time we spoke. So let's not make it this a darkness. I was like, you coming back, just say, no, sir, I'm finished. I'm coming back on this day. And she replied, she was like, oh, I thought just because I've been off for so long, so I'm no longer. I was like, no, that's not how it works. I said to her, sometimes you have to have an understanding with people when they are going through tough times, because during pandemic, the businesses have not worked the way we wanted. So some people have had to find some jobs on the side. So I was like, I get you. I was like, I get you. I get the situation that things are not what we expect, but we have to go on. And togetherness, Carol Ann, you were talking about togetherness. So we have to go on with togetherness with an understanding. So I was like, whenever you're free, to give us time, just give us time. And we'll see how things go with this pandemic. And Amanda, you are fighting the battles because you are a non-vaccine person, and some people are vaccinated. And those can be, to some people, like when you're telling me, I could easily say, oh, why can't you just get vaccination? But because I do understand about choices in life, you have to have a choice, and that choice, people have to understand it, that to you, basically, you don't want, it's not something that you want to do. And that can become a darkness. And because now it's costing you to having to do the test and paying so you can work. So it's a challenge. So when those challenges come, you just have to look at it and evaluate them. Because I've got a feeling, you see what they are doing with Boris, I've got a feeling they're going to compensate to so many people because of the discriminating at work. I don't think we should discriminate people with whatever is going on. So, and Carol Ann, you talk about the judgment. You don't have to judge yourself. You don't have to judge anyone. Like myself, I just listen to people. When people are going through, I listen, and in the end, I'm like, what part do you want me to play? So I offer my help to say, I can't help you to get you where you need to go, because that is a battle that you're going to have to fight yourself. Getting better is something that you have to fight yourself, not anybody else. It's something that even when you go to a therapist is there to trigger the emotions, but you have to fight those emotions from your childhood, from whatever, Amanda, you went through marriage, divorce, I went through divorce. But when you go to a therapist, for you to get out of that mindset, Carol Ann, you were talking about the mindset, the therapist will trigger your thoughts, and you have to fight them. So it's a challenge that you're going to have to fight yourself. You're going to have to define your darkness, evaluate it, and then come out on the other side. No problem is permanent. Basically you can fight. Think about the tiger. Think about the lion, the strength of a lion and the strength of a tiger. Then you be like, you find greatness in all those things. Over to you, Amanda or Carol, and I think we come to an end.
I'll just leave you with you can find light in almost any space. You just have to look for it, because we have the ability to shift our mindset. And even when we are struggling, let yourself struggle for that little bit, but then you have to feel those emotions and feel those struggles, and then when you're ready, look for joy in the moment, and some of it you'll be able to look back on and laugh, and others you'll be able to look back on and be grateful for, because it's made you who you are, and it's made you stronger in the end, even when you can't see it in that moment.
Absolutely. And I'm just weighing up with, I'm going to share, I got this book through today. I ordered it the other day. It's a new one out. It's called Mind Bending Beliefs, The Science of Consciousness by Dr. A. Augustine. And he talks about there's a consciousness and about mindset, and lots of scientific studies that have shown the power of the mind to shift everything around, and the collective, people in a collective way can shift things from negative to a positive, higher vibration. So there is science now being shown that there is more to the power that we have within us than we realized. And even though I know it's been around for a long time, I think it is being more spoken about. A lot more people are finding about it, and I think science is starting to come on board a bit more. That what I'd just like to leave you with is the storm is the optimist's friend, but the pessimist's nightmare. I love that. And then another one is, this time may be dark, but all regrowth starts in the darkness of a seed. So what actually is beginning to regrow in this darkness? What seed is now starting to germinate and can grow? So again, it's about exploring the darkness, embracing it, finding the light within, and know that there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Whoops, and in the excitement I just shake, wobble my phone, and that's what happens. Life takes on a different vibration, a completely different vibration. And that's what it's about. It's raising your vibration so that you get, bring yourself up to the light, bring the light out from within you. Find that courage that is within you to keep going, and find joy and laughter, and the truth of what is actually there, what is the lesson. that has come through this darkness to show you to learn so that you can grow. There's a great potential to grow here. And that's what we're about. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. Which would you prefer? You have a choice. Thanks,
Thank
Lomsa.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Carol Ann and Amanda. For me, basically, I leave you with this. Jesus was crucified and he was rejected. He experienced poverty. He experienced betrayal. He experienced suffering, but he never used his power against anyone. So whatever darkness you're going through, know that what Carol Ann and Amanda have said, that you can find light. You can find greatness within you, within your life. You just have to get up, pick yourself up. Don't make it wrong, as Carol Ann say. Find a champion in your life that can help you, because we all need that person that can tell us everything is gonna be okay, with words of encouragement each and every day. Find that special person. You have a friend, there could be one friend who is like that, a family member, or simple a coach. And if you don't have one, please get in touch with Ngozi Talk Shows and we'll sort something out. Or if you watched the coaches and you like them, just a request to have a free consultation. And you never know where life can take you. So live with grace, everyone, and God bless you. I'll see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. UK time.